Savannah Paranormal Museum. Where history and horror cross paths. Join us May 1st to see what's dying to meet you.
Hey, welcome everybody to Bridging the Seen and Unseen. I'm your host. I am Shane McLain. How are you, Ms. Gwen?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I've been trying to set up a conversation with these two that we have for quite some time, and the last time we saw each other was at the Fitzpatrick Hotel. But
Yes.
That was such a great time. But let's bring our guest on. Let's bring Chris Soucy and Megan Jones.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
My favorite people.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome people. Like I said, I was just telling Gwen last time we saw you guys was at the Fitzpatrick Hotel. And have you guys been back there since?
Have we been back since?
We did. Yes, we have been back once.
With us, we on our event.
Yeah, that's right.
Not on our, yeah.
Did you guys get good activity there when you went that second time?
I don't remember anything specific happening.
Yeah, it was not
like
necessarily
the first time
not like
when
the
we were
first time, not like when you were there. It was, but we have been 4 times now to the Fitzpatrick.
The place. My wife and I were talking. We want to go back there. And just kind of explore, because there were some spots there, like in the basement and everything. Somebody was able to go in. I can't remember who it was, but somebody was able to go down there, but we weren't able to at that time.
So our team, like the very first time we went, we had a pretty unprecedented access, and they let us down into the basement. And weirdly enough, there was no one that worked at the Fitzpatrick in the hotel, and there were no other guests. So it was just like 5 of us in the entire hotel.
Oh, wow.
Probably it was off season.
It was off season, and they invited us down to help with their tourism marketing for the city. It actually invited us.
Oh, yeah.
That's good though, because that's a little quiet little town.
It is.
I mean, when you drive through it, you're like, there's even a hotel in this town. But I like it though.
It's like a little misnomer.
I like it. Well, guys, why don't you guys tell everybody about yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you guys have got going.
Sure. My name is Chris. I am a paranormal enthusiast. I've always had kind of an eye on the boogity boogities of the world. I've been chasing ghosts since I was 6 years old, and I find myself, after a lifetime of kind of paying attention to it, always being kind of the receiver of any number of strange things, from people's very private and scary stories to haunted items that they just don't want in their house anymore. This is my wife Megan.
I'm Megan. I am a photographer and entrepreneur, and I've been hunting ghosts probably since we first met, honestly. We had a group of friends, and they're like, have you met Chris Soucy? You want to go on a ghost hunt? And it's like, yeah, sure. And that was probably 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the rest is kind of history.
All right. And,
That's amazing.
Megan has a simple rule, and that is no haunted objects in the house. So we have a shed that was just chock full of haunted things, the most haunted shed on the block. And
my home's my safe spot.
Right.
Like the home is where we are safe. Our house is not haunted. It is a new build. We don't ghost hunt in the house. We don't look for ghosts.
Yeah, we're not going to find out.
We don't put haunted artifacts in the house. So we have the most haunted shed on the block and the most haunted Chris's trunk of his car on the block.
And with that, we discussed that we probably had enough to, at the very least, start the idea of a paranormal museum, and we just opened the Savannah Paranormal Museum.
Officially opened May 1st, but we've been doing soft weekends this year, and so now it's up and running.
That's amazing. I mean, are you guys getting a good response from the surrounding in Savannah area?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Savannah celebrates its haunted history. Just loves the idea that there is so much paranormal activity in this city, and so it became sort of a no-brainer that an attraction like this would be well received, and we have had nothing but wonderful support from all areas.
And Savannah is a really like a big tourist destination, but it's one of the ones people drive to more than anything. So people come 2, 3, 4 times a year, and if they like the paranormal and they're looking for something new to do, they're like, we've been on a lot of walking ghost tours and the trolley tours and this and that, but here's something new that's paranormal, but different than the tours. But a lot of people will come in and be like, hello, we've driven from Charleston for this very thing, or Atlanta, or
That's amazing.
They're always telling us where they're coming from to see us. So it's been, I mean, obviously very new, but very exciting.
So when you guys got it, what got you guys the idea of having or collecting haunted items? Because like I'm kind of like Megan here, you know, because like in our house, you know, we don't do any kind of investigating. We don't run anything, nothing, because like you said, this is a safe place here. And, you know, when I cleanse this home, and, you know, I don't want to take the chance of having something, you know, but I know people that do collect haunted things, but what got you into that, and how did the museum come about?
So, as far as collecting goes, I never set out to have a haunted collection. It was literally people who didn't know where to turn, who had objects that they felt were causing them, you know, distress. And when they give them to me, if I felt that they were unmanageable, I would usually go through a process of trying to neutralize the item. And the best way to do that for anybody watching, if you have haunted objects or haunted items, you don't destroy them, don't burn them, don't do anything like that. Give them a proper burial. Use all of the trappings of a funeral, because spirits have learned over, you know, centuries and thousands of years that activity, that ritualistic activity, actually is a sentence, you know, saying this is the end. You are no longer a part of this world. And that is one of the ways you can do that. And especially if you include the clergy, especially if you can get, you know, but if you can't, then, you know, reading from the Bible or reading from the text of religion that you're most comfortable with, that really does help communicate to the spirit that it cannot interact with us anymore. Beyond that, when I would get these items, sometimes their historical significance or the story that came with them was important enough for me to think it should be preserved. I should keep it, but I'm not going to destroy it. I'm certainly not going to display it. I won't bring it into my home. I'll just have this kind of shed of haunted goods.
Yeah, and as far as opening a paranormal museum, obviously we had this great collection, but we've been talking over a decade about opening something that would kind of complement the tours. And so we went through different ideas, including like a haunted house that was year round, or that was like a brick and mortar that stood. And we finally came to the conclusion that this was the perfect thing for us, because we would be able to do it without hiring a whole staff and endless insurances and stuff.
Right, because really what we wanted to do is give people another activity, another thing that sort of fulfills that experiential aspect of having haunted items, of interacting with haunted goods. So it is one of those things where it's like we want people to be in the proximity of these storied objects, but we don't want anybody to be in danger. You know, we don't want people to be sitting at home with a haunted object going, okay, I got a haunted object, now what? So we created sort of this very curated experience where you're kind of wandering through and hearing the stories behind a lot of these objects, and kind of determining for yourself how you feel about it, what kind of sensations are you getting from it, can you glean anything from it? And it's really just kind of a wonderful way to interact with your own belief structure when it comes to the paranormal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said you guys started out in your shed. What all do you have in your, or did you move the stuff from the shed to the museum?
Got it all out.
It's out now.
So it was interesting because it was kind of an interesting array of things. Had a friend who lived in North Carolina, and he bought his some property that had a barn on it, and in the barn there was this kind of like long saw knife thing. And he was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It was, rusted out and stuff. And he was like, all right. And he brought it into his house. But he said that the moment he brought it into his house, he was having all kinds of calamities in his house. He was losing things. Electricity kept flickering on and off. Doors would lock and unlock or open in the middle of the night. His front door would open. And he was having all these instances where he was like, something's going on. And through whatever means, he was able to say, it's this weird knife. And when he sent it to me, and he didn't even ask, he wasn't like, hey man, can I send you this haunted thing? I get this like FedEx package and I open it and I'm like, what is this? And there's a letter in there, and I call him up and I'm talking to him. And so I do a little research, and it turns out that what it is it was a butcher's saw, and used to like cut like limbs off of cows and things. But this specific brand, when I was researching it, was like, this was often used during the Civil War to amputate limbs for soldiers, because their amputation saws would oftentimes, their teeth would run out and they wouldn't know what to do. So they'd go and they'd get these butcher saws. And I was like, I wonder if this wasn't the case. I wonder if this wasn't an item used in, combat situations where there's all this heightened energy and all this
residual energy,
energy and pain and fear. And that certainly can give an object all of this extra weight. So then I'm like, okay, I'll take this and I'll put it in the shed, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on and kind of discuss like, oh, what is the area you're in? And he was like, yeah, I'm right near a giant Civil War battlefield. And yeah, so it's very likely that was how that particular item got so charged.
So what, like when you talk to people, like do you ask them, what makes you think that this item's haunted, or what, have they had experiences with it, and what have you heard from that?
So yes, we are very dedicated to the story, finding the story behind what makes people feel this way. We do have like a collection of things that they don't have stories. It's just, it gives them the creeps, this item makes them feel weird. And those, while we'll take them, we can't really exhibit them well, because without the story, it's hard to convey what kind of spirit it is, how people interact with this spirit. So we try our best to sort of interact in that way, where we say, if you're having a series of things, we can trace just by your experience, just by what you're saying, what kind of spirit you're dealing with, what kind of entity you might have. And then tell people when they're standing in front of the object, well, these are the experiences that people have, and you can weigh it against how you feel internally standing near it. So we're big on story collection, and that's also
Chris, don't
important.
you have a video, a short video? We had you on our other show. Don't you have a short video of one of them that you could show? Could you do that?
What video? On TikTok?
I think we did.
We
did
saw one. Do you remember us showing us? We did. You just popped it up and let us see it.
Yeah,
Do
if you
remember
guys
that?
got a video, if you, that would be great. I've got somebody on here watching, Christy Rico. She is in Australia, but she
Yeah.
also has dolls and things like that. And she said she's got a couple of them where there's demons in them. And I'm like, man, that would. And she's got them sitting out. They're not covered or anything. And I know she's told me that like she sets boundaries for them. She like,
absolutely. And that's a very good point, is that, spiritual boundaries can be drawn by so many different methods, and they have, a lot of weight, but, it really does base down to your faith, how strong your faith is in the application of whatever boundaries you set. Because it is a battle of will between the spirit and you,
and intention.
Yep. Yeah, you have to have a stronger intention than that spirit, and in that exchange, you will find that you can, even the most powerful entities, you can set boundaries for them, because it is your belief that keeps things safe. And I always talk about the white box. The white box being kind of this thing that you can imagine in your mind and just kind of encompass something in, and you put whatever it is in the white box, creating a boundary around it. And these are things that you can do through blessings or through meditations or through just basic, treatments of. Sorry, our dog is like deciding to go absolutely nuts over here. If you're hearing anything like beating, it's not a ghost.
I get it.
It's our dog.
Shane has cats, and
I have cats, and they're usually all on me too.
Like
So
they know when you're on, like being filmed, they're like, "This is the time to act up. Let's go."
yep,
they want to be on too.
That's it. With your items, do you guys case them? Do you guys have like do you put a blessing?
Definitely cased. Some items are we have salt boundaries. For certain ones that we feel are particularly dangerous.
And there's been some things that have happened in the museum where we're like, okay, now we need to do something.
Right.
Now this thing has terrorized someone, has harmed somebody. Luckily, just our staff so far, not our guests, and we need to do a thing. So we've salted certain things as it's acting up. We had one thing that before we were opening was acting up a lot, and so we found a
small amulet that was supposed to be very directly connected to this item. And once we got the amulet in front of the item, everything just stopped. It got very calm. So a lot of the items are, behind glass, but we also kind of wanted it to be interactive enough so that you're not so far away from it. But certain items do need a little extra care.
And 100 items. Like I said, I'm more on the lines with Megan right there. I've got a. Because I get feelings when I see things and look at, and there has just been some situations to where like I've seen a doll, and it's like that it's just that internal gut feeling that's like something's not right.
We've had one doll that Chris's podcast partner Madison has been sent to the hospital twice because of this one specific doll.
She felt very distinctly that this doll was like giving her the evil eye, and then she ended up in the emergency room
twice.
And the weird thing was, the doll, when it came to us, the original owner was like, this doll has sent people to the emergency room, to which we were like, there's a story. That's a story worth processing and putting out there. But we did not think that it was going to be a story that we would be involved in. We didn't think, because when you get any item with stories, the stories kind of seem like their own container. You're not expecting like
to become part of the
right.
story.
You don't expect them to continue on, and we were getting those things where it's like you can be around an object and not feel anything.
We got actually very lucky because Chris is sensitive, a little sensitive, a medium amount sensitive to these things.
Yeah, I mostly just get like dizzy, or I'll get like almost nauseous sometimes.
And I'm a blocker, so when things need to be handled, picked up, touched, moved, I can handle it, no problems. I'm not going to feel anything. So far, I've experienced nothing. I'm like, we're good to go. Oh, she needs to move. Okay, we'll move her over there. No big deal.
Yeah.
What's one of the worst items that you guys have come across?
So let me.
I got a picture. I can get it.
Actually, I would go with the Jack in the Box. I had sent a picture to you. If
I sent them to Gwen. I did. I sent them to her.
Can we share our screen?
Give me a second. It may freeze me up, so I'm gonna just give me 1 minute.
Sure. So we had a Jack in the Box that when we got it, it was just kind of like the celebrated haunted object. It was actually featured in Collectors Weekly, an online magazine that was saying these are haunted objects that are known to be haunted and are sold on the open auction scene. And this one was among the most haunted that they had come across. And when we got it, it has this menace to it, this solid, like when you're near it, you're like, I feel intimidated by this object. But we actually ended up in a seance where a medium was communicating with spirits, and a spirit came through to kind of illustrate that there's this dangerous object, this dangerous thing, and it's so dangerous. And it kept saying, when it opens, it feeds. And it was like, okay, I kind of know what that is, because that's kind of what a Jack in the Box does. It surprises you. It pops open, and we give it all this emotion, all this attention.
Can I send Gwen the picture? I have a picture here. I don't know if I can share my screen with y'all, but
I sent a picture earlier.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you did. You sent. I sent them to Gwen because I was kind of hoping that we can go through some of those pictures that you have, because they are interesting. And
yeah, these items, and they come with these amazing
I'm getting
stories.
them now, if you can hear me.
And so during the seance, the intriguing thing was he kept hearing the word often, and he didn't know what it meant. And he would say, maybe it's often or orphan, but I hear often. And that would come up repeatedly throughout this thing. Finally, towards the end of the session, he's like, okay, the spirit does not want you to close the box, because when you close the box, the entity inside gets more power. It's drawing its power up. And it makes sense, because the spring is very powerful. So like you have to fight to get the Jack in the Box inside the box. And when it's closed, that spring is just building tension. And so the spirit kept saying, don't close the box, don't close the box. And that's when Megan looks up the word Offnen, O-F-F-N-E-N. And it's German for open.
oh, wow.
Was a German Jack in the Box.
So in displaying it in the museum, we have left it open.
Yes, it does not close. We don't close it anymore.
We do not let it gain power to scare people. And we have been told that it's pissing that thing off.
Yeah, it does not like it.
So I mean, have you had people come through there, and have they called you and said they've had experiences? Or do you allow them to touch the items?
There's one or two things.
There's a few things they can touch, but none of the haunted objects. All the haunted objects are either behind a rope, so they're just a little further away out of reach, or they're behind glass. But people do. I would say, every day that we're open, at least 2 or 3 people will come up and be like, I was by that thing, or I was by the other thing.
I saw this thing move.
But the fascinating thing is,
me.
it's a wide difference, because everybody responds to a different object. Everyone has these feelings about different things. There are some popular ones that keep coming back up, but I'm always amazed when someone says something about something that no one has spoken about at all. They're like, hey, you know that little cat in there? I was like, the cat? You felt something from the cat? That's really weird. But it's fascinating when because I think that's a part of the journey into examining the paranormal, is to kind of find where your sensitivities are, where your feelings are, what makes you, what motivates you in one direction or another when you're actually face to face with something like this.
Right.
And that works just as well for skeptics as it does for believers, because skeptics get a chance to be around things that people say, this is really, really haunted. And they get to apply that skepticism, that idea of their own perception of what is real. And this is, again, a safe spot to do this in. This isn't like creeping into an abandoned, church where people used to do, rituals. This is very curated. We have a lot of protections in place. We have a lot of things in place to sort of help.
And we're also there to talk people through
and
things.
We can talk people through it.
They come to the front, they're like, I have a question about something I saw in there. We're like, of course, tell us. We'll come back with you and talk about it. Like, we are there to help.
Yeah, that's good, because I mean, they can cause They can. I used to. There was a wood shop in Tennessee, and it was owned by this old man that like made cabinets and everything. And he had one of those long saws to where two people are on it, and they would cut the tree down, things like that. Well, his brother, they were doing something, and the thing slipped, and when he did, he fell, and the saw caught him in the neck and got him. And the same time, he took that saw and hung it up in the building that he had. And he came through one day, and he was
okay.
Sorry, Shane.
I did get the pictures. I'm loading them up. Yeah, he'll be back.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we were right in the middle of a story about a haunted saw.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It happens on this show a lot. Yeah. Oh, here he comes.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. That the saw, he was coming through, and he heard knocking come up above it, and he looked up, and as soon as he did, the saw fell.
Oh gosh.
And like cut right here on him the same way that it did his brother.
Oh.
And like, I know, I could just imagine. And to this day, he still has that saw, hanging up above there.
Yeah, at least put it lower so it doesn't swing down.
Right. And it's a big, this thing goes all the way across the wall. This thing was
big lumber saws.
Where one person was on each side, and they would use it and go like this. And I guess somehow his brother was going through one side, but when he fell into it and caught him right in the neck, and the saw just
horrifying
took him out. Yep. And I know when you have tragedy and you have things like that residual energy can attach to just about anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And people kind of they get kind of obsessed with the notion of ghost, of that singular definition, and they don't realize that you're talking about kind of a spectrum of energies and a spectrum of ways to present from other forms. Sometimes you are just dealing with like something so tragic that it left this emotional stain on this area, and you can kind of just walk into it like a big smoke cloud, and that gives you all these sensations, and you can feel very haunted in those moments. But it's like, you know what, this doesn't seem like a willful or intelligent, it doesn't seem like something's trying to communicate. It feels just like a fog of emotion.
Well, that's
I've got the pictures, you guys, and when you're ready, just tell me.
You do? Yeah, let's see them, because they're interesting pictures. They are.
Does it matter which order?
No, whatever comes up.
As they go through, and you say just kind of give an explanation of what we're looking at.
So this is an actual antique Jolly chimp. I don't think they need to see me. So this Jolly chimp is from the 1950s. It was a beloved toy, but it started kind of having this sort of menacing attitude. And the person who sent it to us was like, we use it as a spirit communication device. Without any batteries in it, we will sit it down and we will ask questions, and it will clap its symbols, once for yes, twice for no. And we have yet to actually, we've tried it a couple of times. We have not been able to get it, but it is remarkably creepy. Like being in close proximity to this object. And I'm not going to say that that's a...
Bring it on our next ghost hunt. We should bring it on our next ghost hunt, actually.
I'm not even going to say that it is haunted definitively. It's just really creepy. So it gives you that kind of sensation. I think that is something that a lot of people don't give enough credit to, is the fact that your mind has to open up in order for you to have these experiences. And sometimes just being in the presence of something that inspires a little fear and dread, or opens your mind to the possibility, gives you a better chance at experiencing something paranormal. So this, we call it a intertelecommunication device. It has been used as an ITC device. So we don't necessarily say that there's a ghost attached to it, as much as people have used it to kind of communicate with ghosts.
Mm. So the history behind that, where did you said it's from the 50s and everything? What experience did the previous owner have with it?
So the owner basically expressed how this item in their home made them feel. They would oftentimes feel like they were being watched, or they're having these notions. But it was when it started, clanging its cymbals, that it really got the owner's attention. And the fact that it was clanging its cymbals with no battery, and we actually put batteries in it to see if you can make it, and it's broken. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if it was clanging, there was something else going on. And he would have full conversations with whatever spirit was in his home through this monkey. And that's another thing that is worth mentioning. It may not have been the monkey. It may have been a spirit in the space, and the monkey just happened to be the tool easiest for the spirit to manipulate.
The conduit. Yep.
Right. The perfect conduit for that spirit. And maybe that spirit was attached to the monkey, but it had to be in a special place, or there has to be a special connection to the person who's speaking. So there's a lot of caveats to how these items can be activated, and you hear it all the time, because countless times you'll hear in a ghost story things like, it happens every night at exactly 2:45 a.m. or it happens on October 17th every year, or it was a dark and stormy night. What they're trying to say is the environment has to be a certain way in order for the spirit to have enough energy and enough ability to communicate. And so, sometimes people will be like, oh, well, that didn't work. So if it didn't work, it's not true. It's like, it's not easy to debunk. Just because it didn't work just simply means that there are elements that we don't understand or know that aren't completely at play. It's simply, we couldn't confirm it. It wasn't, that it wasn't that it's not true. It's that we could not confirm that specific story.
And do you also, this monkey, is it encased? I mean, has it?
Yes.
It is
encased, mostly because it's fragile. It's very worn. It's, over 50 years old. So like the top of its head, I think it used to have like a hat, but the gear, if you move it at all, the gear will shoot out of the head, and its eyes shoot forward, and its teeth get bared. So it makes this face, which is very upsetting to look at. But yeah, we keep it in a case with two other monkeys. Actually, we got two bloody sock monkeys that have like little specks of blood on them. It's very curious and bizarre.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. I've never understood how people want to, and that's another thing too, is like that energy that previous owner had is because, of the communication that they're having with it. And it could really cause a dangerous situation in your house.
I think that's why he ended up parting with it, was because at the very worst, it's an obsessive thing. And you can easily become obsessed with the fact that this is happening. And that's kind of what the spirit wants. It wants to kind of persuade you to have constant contact, to give constant attention and focus and energy. And in doing so, you're kind of entering into a bargain with the spirit where you are providing your precious energy, the energy that, we use to energize ourselves, and you're sharing it with another entity, which can be draining, dangerous. It can make you sick. It can, and you see a lot of that in very woefully haunted spots where the person living there suddenly starts, losing their energy levels. They start to become lethargic, and crabby, and and that becomes the indicator that you need to do something. You need to get away from the object or the place, because that is by and far the best remedy, is to get away. Don't embrace it. don't. And a lot of our objects is fascinating. We have at least 2 or 3 that were brought into paranormal research groups that did lots of testing on them. And they would do all this testing on them. And then at one point they're like, we can't be around it anymore. It's gotten to a place where the tests are really amazing, but we feel that we're giving too much time and energy to this object. So they started giving up these objects. So we have 3 objects that were part of an ongoing, we're going to test these objects every chance we get. And after time, they're like, I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah, no kidding. Oppression's really bad when it comes to, especially with the emotional part of it. I deal in demonology and exorcism ministries, and oppression is right before possession when it
It
comes
is,
to.
absolutely.
And a lot of people, they like to say, oh, there's a demon in there. Well, a demon, it's wanting to attach to you. It's wanting to destroy you from the inside out. But I have seen to where rooms or items or something like that has a very oppressive feel to it, and that's a fear generator right there. To where it can affect you a lot.
Absolutely. And that's, a very good thing, because people do throw demons around a lot. And that, but I think that what they really mean is just any entity that causes damage, they will call a demon.
Right.
It's like, but they're not all demons. Demon is a specific class. However, because of the conversation, because you're talking to people, it becomes kind of this thing where you're like, oh yeah, you're talking about a class of spiritual energy that can do you harm. And that makes an incredible argument towards the word demon. It's like, yeah, you're dealing with this energy. It's harming you. So calling it demonic gives you a kind of like a placeholder for it, but it is kind of dangerous because spirits will also adopt the form that you choose for it.
Right.
If it's Uncle Mike and he's coming to you and he's like, it's me, it's Uncle Mike, and you're like, it's a demon. Uncle Mike is going to be like, oh, you need me to be a demon in order to see me? You need me to be a demon in order to interact with me? I can be a demon. I can do demon things. And so now you have spirits who are basically trying to get your attention in the way that you are feeding it. You say, it's a demon. And the guy's like, yeah, okay, I'll be a demon, because that interaction is that important to those spirits.
Yep. And that's amazing that you say that, because I work with a lady and her child. They were getting ready to move out of a house. And because she would do dishes and she would come back and all her cabinets would be open. Things would shoot across her. And she had 2 paranormal teams going there. And I try to really warn teams, not to be using, because let's be honest, out of all the cases that I've worked and I continuously work, the percentage that you will have a demonic activity is 1%.
Oh yeah, no, a true demon is so rare. And for that matter, classifying your ghosts, when you go in through all of these things, people always expect that they're going to see a full apparition. They're going to see, all these things. It's like, all those things are so rare. And unfortunately, we live in a world of media that suggests
YouTube.
You'll go out and you'll see a full apparition. You'll go out, you'll find a demon. And that becomes that trick of, most ghost hunts are really just kind of sensation oriented more than they are, a sensory experience.
Well, that lady that I was just referring to with the cabinets that opened, she had 2 paranormal teams come in, and both the paranormal teams that came in there, they told her that was a demon that was in her house. And it had generated so much fear between her and her child that they were getting ready to move. Well, we went and did an active investigation, and I do a very good interviewing process, behind it. And I found out that 6 months before, her husband died in a horrific car accident.
Oh, sure.
And when he was living, he would play games on her. And he would go, when she would put dishes up, he would go open the cabinets, and then she would get mad at him and stuff like that. And that's what came through on the spirit box session, the EVPs and stuff like that. All he was doing that was his way of letting her know that he's still there watching after her.
Well, it's also interesting to note, and because I throw the word around a lot, demon, but not to sense demon, but to classify a type of sensation. One of the things that I oftentimes say is, when a human entity, a human spirit, loses its empathy, its ability to empathize with living people, it can become very detrimental. And basically, it's about the singularity of their intention. Like if a spirit dies and it's madly in love with someone, when it comes back, its only focus is on that person, and they don't care if they do damage to anything around. They don't care if they do damage to the thing they love. They just want to be near it. They lose sight of it, and in that singularity, what they do seems evil. It seems like they're doing evil things, and it's like, well, and actually, that's true if you're alive. If you lose sight of empathy, of caring about other people's feelings or protecting other people, the harm you do may be like motivated by these warm feelings, this love idea, but you are actually causing harm. And that becomes like this interesting thing, because sometimes you just have a jerk ghost. Sometimes the ghost is a jerk, and it's not demonic. It's just, there are jerks out there. There are people who are not, people you would want to encounter while they were alive. So when you encounter them when they're dead, it's equally upsetting.
Exactly. If you're good in life, you're good in death. If you're bad in life, you're bad in death. If you're evil in life, you're evil in death too. Exactly. And I wish more people would understand that. And I'll tell you another thing. I am in a spiritual warfare ministry, and and I try to tell, because I think the church has done a horrible job at putting a stipulation that everything is demonic. If you're having a situation going, if the coffee cup flies across the table, oh, you've got demonic activity in your house. And I wish that would have never, because our ministry, this podcast itself, I started this to bridge the gap between paranormal and clergy.
Right. Well, and it gets so tricky because if you pay attention to the lineage of that thought and where the church came to this distinction, a lot of it had to do with trying to curb people from communicating with ghosts.
Yep.
It was because they didn't want to acknowledge ghosts. Partly because when people die, there's supposed to be a set series of things that happen when they die. And if there are ghosts, then those things aren't happening, and it challenges the church's notion of what happens after death. And if you challenge that, then there's a lot of revision and a lot of work that has to be done. So they're like, okay, all ghosts are demons. We can't say, it's like, if it's supernatural, it's a demon.
Yep.
Or an angel or saints. You can still have that kind of interaction, but we can't call them ghosts. And it's like, what a weird thing. Why is that? What makes that so thing? But it kind of like you start to look at how other cultures also communicated, and they would use these ancestral lineage beliefs. And if you can sever the belief structure from that lineage, you can mold and shape and create the morality and the idea and the tones. And it's like, oh yeah, the church knew what it was doing, in the sense that it was creating this incredible, ability to rely on the church and not on your forefathers and your ancestors. And don't go to the mounds and pray to the bones. Keep coming to the church. And you start to realize, okay, I think there is a balancing act here. There's an amazing balancing act, because what the church also did was it compiled the most effective and most dedicated forms of dealing with these demonic entities when they are demonic. Yes. And it's like, oh, that's what they focused on. They focused on how to most effectively deal with these types of entities. But they do dismiss so many things out of, and it's mostly because those things aren't going to harm you. We don't need to send a group of exorcists if, Aunt Polly is showing up and saying, I really miss you. They're hoping that, you'll get the message and everything will be fine. So I do find it, fascinating that conversation isn't more open, that the church has demons on lockdown, but they're also kind of turning a blind eye to a lot of people's experiences because it doesn't fit in their regimented.
Right. And I've heard, I was a pastor for 3 years, and I was a full-time pastor, and it was in a Baptist church, and we would have families come in, and, they would have real issues going on. And the one thing that the church is infamous for is, oh, we'll pray for you. We'll put your family's name on a prayer list,
Right, of course.
but then if you read in Ephesians, it's a spiritual battle, that goes on. You can preach spiritual warfare, but you don't want to do anything to actually help the issue. And the church has had an issue with convincing everybody that everything is demonic. Let's get this straight for everybody that's watching. Not all hauntings are demonic. Stay off of YouTube. Don't get a YouTube education. Do your homework the right way, because people tell me that, oh, there's no ghost in the Bible. Wrong. If you remember in the Bible, when Jesus went up on the mount for his transfiguration, guess who was with him? Moses and Elijah.
Of course, it was Moses, Elijah, which again, the church tries to make that amendment for like saints and for like, spirits that defy the veil because of their significance, importance. But that's also that lineage question.
Yeah,
That's also who came before, who were the bearers of these words before, and call upon them in your hour of need. Call upon them when it's time.
mm-hmm. And I just think I think it's fascinating. I mean, we can have conversations like this, but I did want to show the rest of these pictures that you guys have. Go ahead. No, I love this conversation, Chris. I really do.
Yeah. I could spout off for a long time about it and everything. Mm-hmm. Although I will say hi to Ken, Father Ken. Hey. Yeah.
You guys, I have some of the other pictures. Did you want to show them? I know the show has just a little bit longer. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Go ahead and do that. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is, I can't remember what this was. Should be adding.
So that's the Jack in the Box. That is the German Jack in the Box that we had told the story of earlier. It is so bizarre because it has like this incredible gravity to it. Like you feel drawn to it, and it definitely kind of has this mischievous feel to it. And it is this Germanic Jack in the Box from the 1800s.
Wow.
And it is just a remarkable piece. Like if you were just like an antique collector, you'd be like, oh, this is quite a piece. But then when you couple it with a story of possible damaging spirit, then it becomes a real like, oh, okay.
That's what was the story? What was the story behind this? What did the previous owner have with this?
Fascinatingly enough, the original owner to remark about its hauntedness was a woman who basically was visited in dreams by that box, and the box would basically plead with her to purchase it, and basically threatened her if she didn't. And I was like, if you don't, you don't know the damage I can do. You don't know the harm I can do. And so she bought it literally out of fear. And as she kept it, it just kind of, I won't say tormented her, but definitely intimidated her a lot. So fast forward to our seance where we're trying to sort of just communicate at a base level with any entities that are in the area of our museum. A girl came through named Erin, and she claimed that the box was responsible for her death. And when we tried to have her elaborate, all she could say was, when it opened, I choked. And I was like, maybe she was eating and it popped open and scared her and she choked on it. But she was this 13-year-old German girl who goes around with it. She said she will not leave the box for fear that it will harm others. So she's like an ancillary attachment to the box. And I found that just endlessly fascinating because primarily the spirit who came to do the seance had no idea that the box was there, had no idea of its history or its story, didn't understand any of this, and didn't speak German. So, all these things kind of colluded into this interesting event where we're like, oh, this box, and we all felt it. Like we all felt like when this box opens, there's something hyper mechanical about it. It just pops open and it creates this kind of like panic in you.
That panic all Jack in the Box, because you hear the sound of it and you know something's about to happen.
And this one doesn't crank or play music. It's just got a little latch, just like those snakes in a can. You open the can, the snakes shoot out.
You can even see it front there.
Yeah, that little hook on the front, you just tap it and it'll pop open and it'll actually lift off the table. It'll fly up because the spring is so powerful that it pulls the whole box up. And it's a heavy thing. Yeah.
And you said that's from the 50s?
No.
Oh, 1800s. No, that's 1800s. Yeah. Wow.
1800s, yeah.
That's
actually, it dates back to the 1800s that we know of, but there was another person who thought that it may have been reboxed in the 1800s. It's actually much older.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's not the original box?
That was a conversation that they were having in the antique forum, because they were like, that box is, and at first people were like, oh, that box is plastic. But when you really look at it, it's actually a kind of a thick wood with like a weird wallpaper on it. Like the outside is kind of like a weird kind of stucco around it. So yeah.
See if I can make it bigger.
Toothpaste while you're there?
No, that's the same size. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to make it bigger.
No. I can see it. That's very interesting.
It is an interesting doll, and being in front of it does give you this kind of sensation of dread. You know, it's like, it feels mischievous. I guess that's the best way to say it. It feels like it's up to something, like it's plotting and planning.
All right, you want me to go ahead and show another one? Is that okay?
Yes.
So this was brought to us as a Dybbuk box. And I always say Dybbuk box again became a catch-all phrase. It is not a Dybbuk box. Dybbuk boxes didn't really kind of exist in the way that people think they did until about 2003. In 2003, the Dybbuk box that everybody knows was a part of an eBay sell. But the idea of putting spirits inside of vessels, that is ancient. That's
Jewish. The Jews would do that.
Well, even further than that, people always forget that a genie in a bottle is a demon in a vessel. That's what the jinn is. You trap the jinn in a bottle. That's all a Dybbuk box is. It is taking spirits that are roaming and doing damage and putting them into this. And the reason why I always point out that it's questionable when you get an object, they're like, this is a Dybbuk box. It's like, yes, but when I look at this Dybbuk box, it doesn't have Jewish markings on it.
Right.
It has pseudo-Christian, esoteric Christian markings. It's using a lot of Enochian and Gnostic. So somebody did something with this box. And what happened was a family, I want to say this family lived either in Kansas or maybe Oklahoma, and they were basically emptying an attic after their father died. And they came across this collection that he had of all of these items. And among them were 3 of these weird little boxes. And in his journaling and notebooking, he's basically stating that these were boxes with demons in them, that these were boxes that people used ceremonies and rituals to trap spirits in. He referred to them as demons, but I again, knowing how easily that word gets thrown around, I'm like, it's very likely that there was some kind of spirit that people did not know how to contend with or understand or deal with, and they used some ritualistic means to put the spirit into a vessel. This vessel has caused a lot of calamity among the family, and the family ultimately gave it to another museum. So it was sitting in another museum for about a decade, and then it came to us.
Did the family ever, when they found the box, did they ever try to open it? Because that's a big issue, especially with Dybbuk boxes. And I question people that say if it's closed with glue or something like that. I really question it. But if I see a box that has melted white candle wax,
so this has going around it, this has melted red candle wax all around it, and also red and dark red, to the point at which you're like, that's a suspicious shade of red on this kind of twine that wraps around it.
Honestly, it took him 6 months to send us. We got 3 of them. It took him 6 months because we bought in the summer, and he's like, if I signed it now,
in the hottest months, he was afraid that the wax would melt.
The wax would. Oh yeah.
So it was kept from we purchased it in June of last year, and we didn't get it until February of this year. Because he was always worried that, if it sat in a warehouse or if it was sitting in a truck for any period of time, it was going to be, something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
And basically the family members all stated that being around these boxes, specifically this one, caused deep aggression for everyone. Everyone would get aggressive and angry, and they bicker and fight. And when it was present, it was just like all hell breaks loose in the household. And as soon as they're away from it, they calm down.
Everything's fine. That's
fine. And they're like, so they put it together that it was the proximity to this. And kudos to the father, because the father had clearly on each of these boxes, do not under any circumstances open.
Yeah.
And his family, knowing, because apparently he was kind of a collector of oddities and strangeness, they knew well enough that if he said that, don't do it.
We actually had a woman come through the museum, and she saw those big boxes, and she came back to the front. She's like, have you guys opened them? And we're like, oh. And she's like, oh, I couldn't help myself. I would have opened them. I'm like, please.
Oh, no.
No.
That's not our thing. So this is Chuckles. So Chuckles.
Hello, Chuckles.
Yeah. So Chuckles was the center of a man's research who believed that he could come up with a way to kind of scientifically prove if an object was haunted. He believed that he could apply a series of tests, EMF meters and things like that, but repeatable tests that he felt that if I could get these tests to always happen when I'm dealing with haunted objects, I could, easily certify what's haunted and what's not haunted. This was the first object that passed all the tests. And he felt very strongly that he was on to something, that he had figured it out. And so he was very excited by the fact that he was able to get, just stellar EMF readings off of it, all kinds of distortions, all sorts of things that were coming off of it in succession and repeated. But as it turned out, this was like one of the only items that passed all the tests. And he was, and I think the story is he went bankrupt because he was, he was putting so much money into the testing and into all these things. So he ended up, selling the doll. It made it circle, and it actually travels with a certificate saying, I certify that this item is haunted. But you don't need a certificate. Look at it.
Yeah.
You put this in my house, I'm going to scream. That is not and this doll just has that hyper present sensation.
Well, yeah, I mean the doll looks like he lifts weights. I mean, he can probably, that doll could probably do more curls than I can. I mean, just
belts. He's on it.
Wow, that's pretty insane. Gwen, show another one. Because I know we're getting limited on time.
And that's the star.
So this is Emeraldine. She is purportedly our most haunted item. Debatable, but we have given her her own room in the museum so that people can walk into a room and have an experience with one specific item. So she has her own room. While she's in that room, we have a spirit chat running. We have one of the radios playing up and down the station, the spirit box, and people can go in and spend a little time with her. We've soundproofed the room a little bit. I would say about 25% of people skip her room. They're like, no, thank you. People would go in and hold the door open or leave it open. So we've trained it. We've put a device so it closes behind them. You can't stand there without it being open. And she's amazing. People started leaving offerings for her.
So Christy says this doll is neutral. This is very interesting.
I think she meant the last doll is neutral.
Oh,
that was a
Chuckles?
Comment for Chuckles.
Oh, yeah. Because the bizarre story of Emeraldine was that the woman that she is named after, Emeraldine Schwartz, was a practitioner and used a practice called poppets, where you would try to invite spirits into dolls, and then once the spirit was in the doll, it had the ability to kind of influence our world because it was now in our world in this physical form. And she would do this throughout her lifetime, much to the dismay of her sisters. Her sisters were very upset that this was her practice, that this is what she did. They were definitely, down on that whole thing. But when Emeraldine died, the sisters felt very strongly that her spirit went into this doll. And they were very concerned about this doll. There's very, like, oh no, what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with the spirit? Because they felt that Emeraldine was a vengeful spirit, that she was, very much about trying to influence the world around her from the doll. So they went to different people asking, and mostly people that Emeraldine, when she was alive, would talk to and practice with. And they're like, well, where's Emeraldine's ring? And they're like, I think it's in, the jewelry cabinet. And they're like, okay, well, she used the ring to command spirits. That's what really gave her the ability to put spirits in the doll. She focused all that energy on the ring. If you take the ring and put it on the doll, there is a spirit attached to that ring, and that spirit will want in the doll. And Emeraldine and the spirit will try to fight for control of the doll, and you will be safe.
Oh, wow.
From the entity.
Wow.
The spirits will be locked trying to get into that doll, because once inside the doll, they have some foothold into our world. And I was like, that's a really fascinating story. We brought her in, we propped her up, and sure enough, she has this beautiful emerald ring that is attached to her body with hair, human hair.
And I will say, this doll has moved.
It has moved.
We've had
some issues with that.
Before the room was her room, we were keeping all of the items in this room as we unboxed them, because the rest of the area was under construction. And so she was facing forward, and one day we come in and she's turned her head to the door.
Yeah,
where we
90
come in
degrees.
And so Chris takes a picture and he goes to our team, who moved the doll? Who turned her head? And everyone was like, not me. I did not move her. I did not touch her. We don't go near her. And so she had been probably getting bored sitting there with all these other things, and like looked at the door like, hello. She turned her head at the door, and it's like, okay, all right.
And with the constant spirit chat and the spirit box going, people actually get the same information from her. And these are, people who come weeks apart from each other. They, they come in daily, and there's a
catchphrase.
She does have a catchphrase,
which is "Get out."
Get out.
Go away.
She says "Get out" all the time, and they
time.
hear it through the spirit chat, through the radio frequencies. And there's a little box that works like an obelisk, which is just a word bank, and it'll show up there too. It'll say "Get out" on this little box. It'll say "Get out" through the radio. People will open the door, and as soon as the door opens, we're in the front lobby, and we hear from the spirit box, "Get out," and leave.
At least once a day that we're open. At least once a day, somebody will come and be like, "She said get out." We're like, yeah. One time, a guy comes to the front. And he's like, "She spoke to me." I'm like, "She said get out, right?" He's like, "No, she said sit down." And then she said, "Open your mouth." And I'm like, "Well, what'd you do?" He's like, "I sat down and then I opened my mouth."
Like, don't do what the ghosts tell you.
No.
Yeah, we need to put that up, a big sign. You do not have to do what the ghosts tell you to do.
I think she gets.
Yeah. Don't fall for that manipulation there.
Right. Because that's just exercising their power, right? That's seeing how powerful they can be. And don't do it. Don't fall for it.
Well, do we have any more pictures?
Okay, I'm gonna go through them. Let's see. We saw the box. We saw
Emeraldine.
her.
Well,
We saw that. I can't wait to get there this weekend. We need to talk about that for a minute too.
Yes.
And then hold on. Then there's this one.
Black holes. Yeah.
And then there.
no, I guess we did. We did see.
Yeah.
We did good.
Yep.
Well, it's gonna show.
Chris and
Yeah, we
Megan.
did. Okay, we got through all of them.
Why don't you tell everybody?
We have an event this weekend that I would love for them to talk about.
Yeah, please do, and tell everybody how to get a hold of you guys too.
So if you want to reach out to us, we are on all social media at Savannah Paranormal Museum. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and SavannahParanormalMuseum.com is our website.
Should be easy. We didn't complicate it. Everything.
And we're having an event this weekend.
Leah's coming out with the Boo crew.
She's going to be doing tarot readings for people. We'll have the haunted object lab.
We're still working out the details, but basically we're going to find a space for the haunted lab to be in the museum, allowing our guests to kind of interact with that whole project and see how well that works. Hopefully we will bring some books to sell in our gift shop, and we will kind of have a day of interaction with Lee. We don't know exactly how that's going to play out just yet because we're still working out the details.
But yeah, June 21st.
Right.
And our hours are 12 to 8 that day. And it should be a good time all around.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I will be there.
Yep.
Lee will be there. Matt. Yep.
Excellent.
And I'm about to show you one of the dolls if she comes in here.
Oh, okay.
Well,
what does she have?
It's our favorite. It's one of our haunted dolls. She's so sweet. There she is.
Uh-oh.
Her doll is pinned to her. Oh, well, she has a voodoo doll. It's the thing we made. It's not real. Her name is Marley.
Oh, look at that.
You may have seen her before.
No, I've always had a dread of dolls that don't look straight.
Mm-hmm.
Their eyes are aslant.
Oh, she looks.
Like, what are you looking at? What are you?
Mm-hmm.
You're not making eye contact.
She will look at you.
Well, that will freak me out more.
Yeah, that definitely would freak me out more. Well,
her eyes will move. Yeah, so just watch out for that.
That's exciting. Yeah, and that's something that we feel will be a great temporary exhibit in our museum, is to have people come through for a day and experience this really fascinating project. If your listeners are not familiar with that Ghost Lab project, it's really interesting. It is kind of an approach to get people's impressions on haunted objects and share them with as many people as possible, so people can come in and do like this little QR code test where they can actually state how they feel about each object.
Oh, wow.
We do the QR code. People go through. Some people get stuck on certain objects, and it's interesting to see what they feel, because we know, I'm around them all the time. We do this, we set it up, we go through, but it's so interesting to see. And that Christy's saying, "Hey, Marley," and she will move her eyes, look at you. If you don't talk to her, she's looking at Lee now. She's over there, but we take her with us. Funny enough, we just had an event, and she rode in the front in the truck with us.
No, that's good.
How we this one. She's sweet.
Yeah,
and she's getting she's getting new clothes and everything. So but we are a little bit over, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. But guys, Chris, Megan, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. I can talk to you guys for forever, and I think the conversation is just fascinating, because I think it really does. It educates and tells people that about these kind of items and what to do with them, and I think it gives them an outlet that if they do have that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming, and thank you again for spending time with us, and thank you guys, if go check out their museum, look at it online, look them up, because these are fantastic people.
Thank you so much.
Really
all right, guys, take care. Okay,
you guys, if Shane and Chris and Megan, if you hold on for just a minute when we finish, I'm gonna let Shane sign out, but just hold on just a minute with us. All right, here you go.
Hey guys,
they are so interesting. Yeah,
they are, and it's just the way that people approach having haunted items. It has a crazy misconception that they're all evil, that everything is, and it's just neat to know that they have a place that people can actually go to if they do have a haunted item that they don't want, they're not familiar, that they'll take it and they can house it. But I really appreciate them coming on, and I appreciate each and every one of you for spending time with us. Christy, Father Ken, thank you guys for coming on. And it has been a pleasure, and you guys stay safe, be blessed always, and stay spooky, people. Peace.
You